Now let's start drawing in SketchUp. SketchUp is a 3D program, so when we draw in SketchUp, we are going to be drawing in 3 dimensions. Now this requires that we understand how to snap things to axis, so that we are drawing exactly the way that we want. Now drawing in SketchUp starts with the line tool. We can get to this in one of two places. I can go to Draw, Lines, Line, and the hotkey for this is L, or we go to the toolbar and just click on the pencil icon. And as you can see, that pencil icon becomes my cursor and I can start drawing. Now drawing the line in SketchUp is as simple as clicking and dragging. So if I position this over my scene and left click and drag, you can see that I have a line. Now if I hold down my left click and I can move this line around and notice how it snaps to the axis. So it is snapping here to the green axis, the red axis, and the blue axis. And this is really just SketchUp's way of keeping things aligned, and this can really help you draw things precisely. Now if you snap to an axis, you can always hold down the shift key and it will remain constrained to that axis. So if I let go, I have now drawn a line along the red axis. Now if I want to continue this, all I have to do is hover over the endpoint here. Notice how this kind of highlights, and then again left click and drag. So I am extending this particular line, and again I can extend it along any one of these axes. So if I extend it along the green axis, I will get something that's like a right angle. And again I can do that again. So if I, for example, draw along this axis, I can create this shape. Now we don't always have to draw along specific axis. We can draw angles. So I can left click and drag and I can draw this at an angle. When you do draw something at an angle, you can continue to draw, and we can see now that there is a new type of snap. So if I go around, you can see that I get this kind of violet colored snap, and that is at a right angle to that line that I just drew. So this one here is extend edge, which is parallel to that line. This one snapped to the red axis, and this one is actually perpendicular to that edge. So if I lock that down by left clicking, you will see that I have a little right angle here. Now this is what is called inferencing. So SketchUp tries to infer where you want to draw a line. So it is always looking at where you are trying to give you hints as to what you want to do next, and this can be very helpful for getting things aligned and locking them down. So if I extend this here, notice how when I drag this up, when it gets across from this point, I will get a little red line that tells me that it is aligned with that point along the red axis. So I am getting a whole bunch of different types of snapping here. So if I move this here and left click, it is directly across from this point on the green axis. So all I have to do is drag a line along the green axis, and now I have a shape. Now because I use the snapping, it snapped to a single plane in SketchUp scene, and this allows me to create a completely flat object. Now another way to do that would be to go into a standard view, such as a top view with parallel projection, and when I do that, then I can just draw whatever I want, and it will always be along a flat plane. Just go back into perspective mode and kind of orbit our camera around. Now if I go out of this mode, where I am not using snapping and I am not going along a parallel projected view, then I can come into trouble. So let's go ahead and just take this pencil tool and just draw something kind of randomly that isn't really snapped to any particular line. Here I have something that looks like a pentagon, but as soon as I orbit off of it, you see that it's quite different than how it looks. And that's because we didn't snap. So when you draw in SketchUp, use the snapping, use inference, and also use your standard views to get the objects aligned exactly the way that you want. The line tool in SketchUp can also be used to draw 3D objects. We saw how we can draw flat objects, but we also can extend that up along the vertical axis to create actual geometry. So let's go ahead and select the line tool and let's go ahead and draw something. We are going to draw a simple rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and left click here and just snap along the red axis. Left click again, so that's aligned with the red axis. Let's get something aligned with the green axis, and now this time I'm going to look for the inference where it snaps directly across from that first point. So left click there and then go ahead and close the shape. And when I do it, it creates a shape and we now have a basic rectangle. Now if I repeat that same process along the blue axis, I could start to draw in 3D. So again, select my line tool, draw along the blue axis. Now I am going to draw along the red axis and notice that it snaps here. Tells me I am exactly across one of those points, and then I am just going to go straight down, and as you can see I have the basis of a box. Let's go ahead and finish off this box. So I am going to snap to this corner, drag it along the green axis, wait for that inference, there it is, and then finish that one. So now that we understand the process, you can see how it is very simple to draw in 3D. Again, I'm using SketchUp inferences to make sure everything is aligned, and now I have this. And all I have to do is connect this corner to this corner and I have a box. So this is a good demonstration of how we can actually draw in 3D using nothing but the line tool. Now this line tool can also be used to draw onto this object. So one of the nice things about this tool is that once we have faces in the scene, we can actually start drawing on these faces. So if I want, I can snap my line tool to a corner, to the edge, or right here to a midpoint which shows up in Gyaan. So if I snap to the midpoint and drag along the red axis, I have cut the top, that is half. Then I can use that as the basis to draw another shape. So now I am basically just drawing on my existing object. And now I have this face here which is angled, but I can also draw on that angle face and notice how it highlights in violet because it is going at an angle. So this is just a simple demonstration, but hopefully you can see the power of just this one simple tool in SketchUp. This one line tool can be used to create all sorts of complex geometry. So go ahead and start practicing your drawing skills in 3D and understand how the line tool works in a 3D environment.